Hello YouTube, this is Own Soldier 86. Our next video, what we're going to do here is we're going to talk a little bit about textures that go behind your level geometry. These are going to be used as kind of just, an artistic value, help flesh out your level a little bit more, and provide a little bit of extra flair. It's like the last 5% that is intended to make up your level. And we've already gotten our main important stuff taken care of. We've got our floors, we've got our ceilings, we've got some boxes, we've got some basically everything that we're going to need to create the bulk of our level where the characters are going to be moving around. But like I said, it'd be nice to have a little bit of extra flair. And one of the things I like to have is in Mystic Cave here, I have this lantern that I picked out, which would be pretty nice, except that there's a bunch of extra alpha in the background of this texture, and we do not want that alpha. At least I don't, because I like to play my games on EverDrive, and as you know, if you use alpha texturing or transparency texturing on your game, it will not show up very well in the EverDrive. So we're going to find a way to put this 2D object inside of a texture that will look very nice in the EverDrive. And what I'm going to do for that is I selected this box already. It's 48 by 48. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And we're going to find a texture that it would look good behind, or I suppose on top of, actually. Why don't we take the foliage? I'm going to go ahead and edit, paste into new layer. And what that does, at least in paint.net, is it'll put the new image in a new layer on top of the old layer. And you can see here on the side here, we have the layers option, and we can toggle those layers on and off with the little check boxes here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take that image and put it somewhere right in the center of our previous image. Looks pretty close. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle off the background. And we're going to get rid of that alpha. I'm going to find that magic wand tool that we used. Like when we did the ring experiment here, we got rid of the alpha. Same setup. We're going to go ahead and click. Make sure we're not getting rid of any pixels that are necessary. And click delete. And then what we should have when we toggle the background back on is a lantern that sort of hangs out in the middle of nowhere right now. And that looks okay, but I would like to have some pillars that this can connect to as well. So we're going to go back to our pillar texture right here. We're going to copy, and we're going to paste again into a new layer. Okay, now you can see that the pillar here is much bigger than it can account for the image of our lantern. And we didn't want to stretch or move anything around because it'll lose the integrity of the original image. We want to try to keep that as best as possible. What I will do is I will stretch this pillar to be a little smaller. And remember, when you're stretching things, always make sure that you have nearest neighbor and pixelated quality on so that we can keep everything nice and sharp and clean. And why don't we stretch that down just a little bit? Actually, let's not. I think we're going to keep it the same, and we're just going to copy and paste it as is. That looks really good. We're going to stretch this up, copy, paste, and move it to the other side. Now we have ourselves a texture that will exist as a kind of a flare that will exist kind of in the background of our in the foreground of the actual level, but in the background. I can't explain that very well, can I? It'll be a background in the foreground. I don't know if that makes any sense, but we do have a separate background, which we will talk about later. This is an example of a background that we're going to use for our entire level. So we don't want to label this image that we just made as background because we already have a background. We're going to label this as behind. I'll explain more once we get to the modeling part. It'll make a little bit more sense. So behind one, there we go. And when we save anything with multiple layers, paint.net asks if we want to flatten the image. And what that will do is that'll put all of the layers together into one image. We're going to go ahead and say yes. And now that image is completed. We cannot go back, however. Once it's been flattened, we can't go back and take little pieces apart. So make sure you have it all set the way you want it before you hit the flatten option.